In this movie, I don't even know what it's called, but God Almighty, they could do this stuff with robots these days, and we'd never be none the wiser. We don't have anybody we can trust. We don't have anything going for us. We got to have insurance for our security, to protect our social security number, and I don't know what much more to say when there's a market for protecting the social security number. Social security number has to have you have to buy separate layers of insurances and pay taxes on that insurance you purchase just to keep your social security number safe in this land that we live in. And now I'm watching a movie right here where big machines run around killing everybody. Hey man, where's our security? My name's David Aaron Gregg, and let's do it. I'll go up there and be sure we got security. I'll integrate all the borders to where all of our trade allies has our civil right, our Second Amendment for the citizens of their land, or we don't trade with them at all, there or here. We don't take any of their imports or exports. They don't have the Second Amendment and civil rights for their citizens, so they can arm themselves like American citizens should. There should not be no caliber minimization. Do you see the critters that they could unleash? Yeah, we got some radicals, but we can stop them. Well, if we give them liberties in the Second Amendment and try to give them insurances in one flat tax system, to maximize, the federal will be to maximize and minimize safety, civil order. In other words, be sure that the counties and the states don't neglect the health of their citizens. Trade, avenues, and safe transit. With all of our allies, we should have safe transit. Maintenance of local utilities. Right off the top of the taxes, where you take and appropriate taxes, get some taxes. Not all of it gets shoved to the other corner of the country, and then we have to beg for it back. Taxes pay for each level on the way to Washington for our defenses. Okay? Because if we don't maintain the utilities at that sector, first off, we can't integrate into other countries and allow them to participate in our system, which gives us a real security. I figure it's probably about 4 different taxes. Okay, one tax on every transaction from the field to the consumer. On every transaction, because you got to pay for utilities all the way along the way. You can't just pay for the utilities at the end of the product and think the roads for the manufacturing of the product was even maintained. It has to be one flat trade tax. That makes it very low, because every step of the way materials are getting a tax on them, and they're paying for their utilities that they use to get there every step of the way, as well as the citizens use the utilities to get to purchase it. Y'all need to get up with it. And this is my apparatus, big giant wheel. You can see the relevance. I mean, it'd be big. It'd spin, it'd be full of liquid, and it'd be spinning. And then when it gets all the way out here to the maximum trajectory and maximum speed going around here on the outer perimeter, which the fluid in the middle helps to calibrate the balance, so you don't have to have all the weight on the exterior of the wheel except for the payload if desired. And then you shrink the mass of the machine into the liquid like that. That way you don't have to worry about balancing it and keeping it on its spindle as much. You got the payload, and when it gets right here, it trajects. And that should get us into space pretty good. It's a big old, you put the load in the middle because this thing's spinning all the time. You can't afford to stop it. You can't afford to start it but once, and it's spinning all the time. It's got all this fluid that can be pulled into the center, and little shutters will keep it from fluttering out. And then your payload gets loaded right here, and it makes its way out, and it's balanced by the fluid. The fluid balances it. And when it gets to maximum trajectory on the outer diameter of your circle, your catapult, it releases it. And that's how we get rigid items into space. It goes, and it'd be zero. We basically not lose any of our. It'd have no effect on our trajectory through space, unlike rockets. It would probably run on hydroelectric, so wouldn't have hardly any emissions. And if you got one of these in space, a ball with fluid in it, you got that fluid spinning, and you open up that port, the fluid's going to go up in that port and hit the wall, propelling you through, and then the liquid's just going to fall and get reabsorbed into the circle. Okay, and then you can have a port going out in every direction, so if you release it to the bottom, it'll fall down, hit the wall, move you that way, and then settle down and just get reabsorbed into the spin. Space trajectory without negative G's when you launch your fluids in whichever direction, because they're spinning constantly. You're just releasing them. Then they're hitting the wall of the chamber, and that propels the ship. It's all right there, man. That's the best I can do, because I don't want to wind up like these people, running to the last brick of humanity from foreseen threats.